Welcome back to another episode of Movie Night. It's been a while since we've done one of these. We watched a movie quite a while ago, but because of Blue's schedule and my schedule, I was traveling, Blue was traveling, although
Blue was breaking his PC.
Blue also, yeah, his PC busted, so we weren't able to record this for a while. But we watched a bit of a controversial classic, Blazing Saddles.
I don't know if it's controversial, because controversial suggests there's people that are against it, whereas it is in itself against the bad thing.
Yeah. Controversial in the sense that if I said even half of the quotes I want to say about, like, from this movie, the YouTube video would get taken down instantly.
Yeah.
So, like, the movie itself, I think, was comedy gold. It had me laughing from the first moment it started.
Yeah.
I'm kind of annoyed that
I was about to say we should find words to represent those words without saying them, but at the same time, if I say, like, Kit Kat,
yeah,
that's not going to be good either.
No, and there's stuff about that too, like, or I mean, call the other one
racial slur. That's what we shall use. A racial slur.
Let's just, like, insert the word slur every time that they. But they're
but
honestly,
not say the words.
if you're not easily offended, then the movie is hilarious.
It is.
And the funny thing is, I was talking after we watched the movie. I was talking to both of my parents, and they apparently hadn't seen it in years. They saw it. Both of them saw it when it first came out in theaters, and they remember thinking it was very funny. But they both were like, "Oh, yeah, that's not good these days." They were remembering bits of the.
But at the same time, I can imagine someone who is anti-racial slurs going to that movie and enjoying it because it is mocking the shit out of people that use racial slurs.
It is, but that's something that's a bit of nuance that really is lost on a lot of modern audiences.
Yeah. Maybe.
Like, for instance, the very first scene in the movie where they're working on the railroad and a Chinese person falls down out of exhaustion, and the overseer guy goes like, "Man, dock that slur's pay, dock him a day's pay for napping on the job." I showed that clip to Juan and Raymond. They thought it was fucking hilarious.
I think they would like the whole film. I think they would love the whole film.
Oh yeah.
No, and then the music bit in that same scene.
Oh yeah, where they
good.
have the. So maybe I should get into the
you know, we should get. Yeah, we're gonna end up just jumping around always.
All right. So first of all, when did this movie come out? By the way, just to give context, I think it was in the.
I'll find it.
I want to say it was in the early '80s or late '70s, but so basically,
1974.
74. That's what it was. It's early 70s, even older than I thought it was. So the movie opens up, and it's very clearly set in the era of the Transcontinental Railroad, where they have, like, different groups of immigrants, like, building the railroad across the country into the new territories and stuff like that. The country, you know, being the U.S. It opens up where you've got a group of black and Chinese workers working on the railroad. The scene I'm talking about, one of the Chinese workers falls over, and one of the white overseers says that. Immediately it breaks into what Blue's talking about, which is they have, you know, the white overseers, again, they talk to the black workers, and they're like, "Sing us one of those racial slur songs y'all sing." And they break into a very sophisticated, like, song of some variety. I can't actually remember what the song is.
No, I can't remember what the song is, but yeah.
And the funny thing is, then the white guys are like, "No, that's not what we mean," and they start singing like a very, very, like, lowbrow kind of country kind of song.
Yeah.
And that goes back and forth for a little bit until. Sorry, you look like you have something to say.
No, not at all.
So that goes on for a little bit until I think it's one of the big bosses of the overseers comes out, and they need them to, like, scout ahead. And so they send two of the black workers on, like, a rail car out, and they get sunk in some quicksand. and the overseers are like, "Oh God, we gotta do something. Get a rope. We gotta get it back." And they throw the rope out, and they're worried about recovering the car. They don't care about the 2 workers who are sunk in the quicksand. And those workers eventually do drag themselves out, and the one black dude is just like, it's like, "Oh, I can't deal with this." And the other guy's like, "Don't do it." And he's like, "I'm gonna do it." And he picks up a shovel and whacks the one guy over the head.
Ow.
Yeah. Cut then to when I think it's one of the railroad people talking to a politician of the territory, like a governor or something like that.
The guy that got hurt, the guy that got whacked with the spade.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's got a big bandage on his head.
Yeah. And he's saying, this person needs dealing with. And outside there's the executioner.
Who's got
yes, master.
He's got the black hood over his head, like a medieval like executioner looking guy. But he's got like a gallows, and there's a line of very colorful characters all lined up behind. Like, it basically is like if you could imagine all of the Disney mascots lined up and potentially getting ready to be executed at the gallows. That's what you see happening here outside. So the governor leans out and he calls out, "Oh, we got another one coming in. When do you have availability?" And the guy's like, "Oh, it's sometime next month or something like that. We got a long queue." And so they ask him to squeeze in the black dude that hit the guy over the head with the shovel, and he's like, "All right, I'll pencil you in for next month or something like that."
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to hang the horse, the poor horse.
That's true. Yeah. So after a while, so they have their heart to heart. They bring that guy up, the black dude. They don't try to hang him just yet, because what happens first is they cut back to the small town they were building the rail through. And a bunch of banditos come through, like riding on horseback, shooting things and like breaking stuff, stealing things, and
kicking old ladies.
Yep, kicking old ladies. They come back and they wire the governor, saying like, "Oh, hey, we need help." And the governor then like leans out the window at the last second. "Oh, we need a new sheriff," but they need like a scapegoat sheriff. And so he leans out, and right as they're about to hang the black dude, who, by the way, again, like Blue said, he's on his horse, and they've got a noose around him and a noose around the horse. So they're gonna hang them both at the same time. This whole movie is like the antithesis.
There's also a guy in a wheelchair.
That did happen too.
Yeah.
A very colorful cavalcade of characters were about to be hung.
Yeah.
And again, I will reiterate once again, this is probably the least PC movie you could think of.
All right, no more reiterating that, because I think people get the idea by now. If they didn't get it in the first 10 minutes of this episode.
When they're about to hang a horse and a guy in a wheelchair, I feel like I have to say it one more time. All right. So what they do is they pull the guy, the black dude out of the noose, and they bring him upstairs, and they propose that he be the sheriff of this small town. And essentially with the idea that he's probably going to die and whatever, but he was going to die anyway, so there's a running gag throughout the entire movie where the mayor, oh sorry, not the mayor, I guess he's a governor, where every time they go in there, he's like basically whoring or smoking or drinking, and
or all at once.
Is very, very easily manipulated by the railroad man. In fact, what I wrote in my notes was accurate depiction of town hall, accurate depiction of a politician.
Yep.
So, hold on. I'm looking back at my notes for just a sec. So yeah. So the black dude actually manipulates the situation to his I'm just gonna call him the sheriff from now on because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm demeaning him calling him the black dude. He's got a title of authority at this point in the movie. He's a sheriff.
Well, yes. He hasn't ridden into town yet, though.
That's true. So he manipulates the situation, though, talking to the governor. And the governor... He leads him around, and there's this hilarious scene where the railroad man is convincing the governor that he should accept this guy as the new sheriff and why it's such a good plan. And in the background, that dude is just like, he's taking a cigar out, he's sitting at the governor's chair, he's smoking it. There's a lot of visual humor in this movie, which I really, really like. That happens. They do eventually accept Gesundheit.
Sorry.
They do accept him, and then you get the scene where he's riding up to the town. And they've got this big celebration planned.
This is probably my favourite scene in the whole film.
They've got, like, a banner laid out, and they're like, oh, you know, welcome sheriff, and they're getting ready for him. And...
Yep. Crazy Pete on top of the building.
Yep.
With a spyglass, sees the sheriff coming, and he's like, wait a second, he's... and then as he's about to say the slur, the fanfare starts.
And he gets drowned out. Yeah, it's a very tasteful way to do. Although, to be fair, they've said that slur multiple times in the movie so far.
Oh, too. Yeah, no. It wasn't to do with them hiding the fact they're using that word. It was to do with the fact that just he couldn't be heard.
Somehow I kind of find that funnier. Like, where they've already broken the taboo.
Yeah.
And then they're censoring themselves despite that later in the... It just, I find that amusing. Yeah, so everyone kind of freaks out when he shows up. Like, all the fanfare and the trumpets and everything, they just suddenly, like, kind of die down. And he gets up on stage, and, like, he's trying to meet and greet, and then everyone, like, pulls their guns on him. And
yep.
Sorry, you were about to say?
No.
Everyone pulls their guns on him, starting with somebody on the stage with him, and then everyone out in the crowd as well, because, you know, again, racism. And right as he's got all these guns trained on him, and how does he get out of the situation?
Wait, not that bit yet.
Oh.
The priest comes up.
Oh, I forgot about the priest. I actually don't remember this bit.
So the priest walks up onto the bandstand with him, and like, he's our sheriff, elected by the chancellor and by God. And then, like, a bullet goes through the Bible. You're on your own, son.
I completely forgot about that bit. Yeah, so somebody tries to defend him, doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And so he decides to take the action of holding himself hostage. I don't remember exactly how this starts, but essentially...
Charisma 10 is how it starts.
Yeah, the guy rolled a charisma check and rolled a nat 20.
Yeah.
So he pulls his own gun on himself and points it to his head, and he's like, if you guys don't put your guns down, I'll blow this slur's head off.
Yeah.
And he manages to hold himself hostage.
Yeah.
To the
woman is like, oh, that poor child, everyone must put their guns down.
The ignorant townsfolk decide that, yes, him holding himself hostage is a good enough reason to
lower their guns,
put down their weapons. And he ends up going into the sheriff's office. And I think this is where he does actually, despite everything, start to do his job as the sheriff. In fact, he's got his next task is to try and recruit some deputies. And the deputy he looks for first happens to be a guy in the drunk tank. And I think he's like hanging upside down the first time he finds him or something like that.
Yeah.
So he goes into the drunk tank and he finds Willy Wonka upside down.
Yeah, the guy who plays Willy Wonka.
And they have a little
Not Johnny Depp, we should say.
Yeah, sorry. The old Willy Wonka. The Willy Wonka from when I was a kid.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the only one I've seen. I haven't seen the Johnny Depp one.
Neither have I. Yeah, I've only seen the original. So anyway, he takes him down, and they have a little bit of a heart-to-heart. There's some funny dialogue between them. And
they're playing chess. Is that scene?
I don't think they're quite there yet. So he recruits him to be a deputy when he finds out that he used to be some like famous gunslinger.
Yeah.
Like when he was a kid, like he was the fastest hands in the West or something like that. And so
that was the scene.
What?
That was the scene.
Yeah. And so he recruits him, and then once he recruits him, the guy's like, "Oh, hey, I need some whiskey." He's like, "I haven't had a sober breath in like 20 years or something like that." And so he gives him a bottle of whiskey. The guy drains it, and then you're right, they play chess. And over the chess game is when they're talking about his past and how he was a gunslinger and
his look at my hand, dead steady. Like, no, that's not my shooting hand. And he holds up his other hand and is like, just flipping out all over the place.
A little bit of delirium tremens.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think what happens next. I think there's now a catastrophe in the town. So, well, they have a heart-to-heart. They get to know each other. These two characters kind of come together. Oh, there's an Indian attack. Can I say Indian, or do I have to say Native American?
I don't know.
Fuck it, I'm saying Indian.
Okay.
There's an Indian attack on a wagon train. And for the life of me, I don't remember anything that happened.
It was a flashback from the guy that was with the sheriff right at the beginning. It was a flashback of his past when he was a kid and he was with his parents in a wagon train that gets ambushed by Native Americans.
Okay, so this is still them reminiscing.
Yeah, and the Native Americans come over to their particular wagon, and they're like, "Oh my god, you're gonna kill us," kind of thing. And they're like, "These people are darker than we are. They can go."
I remember like as the wagon train's going away, the Indian chief dude is just like, "The fuck is wrong with them?" or something like that. Like he just comments on like, something wrong with these people. And it was just, I don't know, it was funny. But you're right, that was a flashback. Because the next scene is when the racist foreman guy is around the campfire. And they're all...
The beans.
Yeah,
they're shitting themselves.
They're all eating beans and get ready for about 10 or 20 minutes of fart noises.
I fucking hated that.
That honestly did kind of annoy me. Like,
yeah.
It was funny the first time it happened, but then it kept happening.
It's just grim. Just being near anyone that's just farted. So just, it was just a bit too toilet humor for me. That was like the worst.
Yeah, but quickly they come back to form, because what happens is, the guy who got hit in the head with the spade, he comes out and he's like, "Well, we need somebody to take care of this new sheriff." And so they bring in Mongol, which I'm only just now realizing that's what Shrek was referencing.
When?
In the second Shrek movie, they have the giant gingerbread man who assaults the castle. He's called Mongol, and he's this big, brutish guy that goes raw.
Yeah.
Sorry, I like that movie.
I can't remember either of the words from either of the films, so...
Yeah. But anyway, so it's, again, kind of a big oafish man. Again, something that you would have to call differently abled today. And they go to send him after the sheriff. And so when they, like, again, it cuts back to the drunkard and the new sheriff just kind of shooting the shit, hanging out in the sheriff's office. Cue one of my favorite lines in the entire movie, and I can't say it because it contains a very strong racial slur in it. But the sheriff is like, "Oh, I just need to keep being positive and keep being there for the community, and they'll eventually accept me. Just, fake it until you make it." And he walks out into the street, and he tips his hat to like this old woman.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, howdy, ma'am," and she goes, "Fuck you, N-word." And it's so. And again, I hate that I have to clarify this.
It's just so random.
We
get, yeah.
It's the thing you would never expect, like a little old lady to say that.
It's like it would have been equally as funny if like a child in a pram had turned around and said that to him.
Honestly, it would be equally as funny if like an old elderly grandma dabbed.
As you walked away.
Yeah, exactly. Just she did a little
dab on the sheriff.
But it's
racist bitch.
It's the juxtaposition of that kind of ridiculous thing with the the expected disposition of that kind of character. What happens next? Oh, I think Mongol rides into town on a bull.
Yeah, something like that.
Or
and
does
he goes
something
into the
happen?
tavern.
Tavern, that's what it was. Does Mongol goes into the tavern, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mongol rides into town on a bull. The big dude that the rest of the foreman recruited to try and take out the sheriff. He rides into town, walks into the tavern, and I don't know if he orders a drink or not, but he does start beating the hell out of people and like causing a ruckus of some variety.
Yeah, I can't remember because it's been weeks.
Yeah, it has been quite a while. And anyway, so somebody comes over to the sheriff's office and tells him that this is happening.
Yeah.
And I think he like, does he pin people with a piano or something like that?
Yeah, he's crushing them up against the wall.
That's what's happening. And so the sheriff is like, but again, the sheriff is like, he's clever. He doesn't solve solutions like directly. So he goes in there disguised as like a telegram delivery person.
Yeah, like a busboy kind of thing.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, delivery from Mongol," or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like a box full of dynamite or something. Isn't it?
Yeah, I can't... It's something to do with like cakes or something, or sweets, or a sweet gram or something. I don't know.
It's something that disables the guy who's causing the problem. Maybe it's just it could be cakes full of chloroform, but
I'm pretty sure it was dynamite.
I think it was an explosion too. Anyway, so they knock him out, and then we cut to the train guy, who's with the guy that got hit in the head with the spade. He's in a bathtub.
Don't they do the when he wakes up first?
Do they?
I think they go straight to the...
I might be skipping a scene.
I think we're skipping a lot of scenes, but there you
go. I might be doing them out of order, but...
Right.
Anyway. What was the scene you were thinking of?
When he wakes up in prison.
I actually think that happens after the bubble bath scene.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then you get a very, very awkward scene with the train guy and the guy who got hit in the head with a spade, the supervisor guy. Train guy's in a bathtub, and he panics looking for his rubber ducky.
Yeah.
And the other guy, they're trying to develop a plan. It's like, oh, now that this has failed, what do we do next? And they come up with something, which I don't remember exactly what the plan was.
Was it the dancing girl next?
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, I gonna... That's what happens next? I don't know if they discuss it in this scene.
Right. But... get a delivery from the little old lady again.
Which I absolutely love. Again, I find this hilarious both times. So, they've saved the town, right? So the sheriff is, shooting the shit again with the boy wonder there, the gunslinger. And they get a knock. And they open the window, and it is the little old lady who, swore into the
racist grandma.
Yep. And she gives him a pie. And she says, thank you to him for saving the town. Then she goes off, and he takes the pie and sits back down, and he tells his friend, he's like, see? And then there's a knock at the window again, and he opens it back up, and the little old lady's like, but you won't tell anyone we talk. I talked to you, right? And he's like, of course not, ma'am. And it's just, another funny scene.
That's about that. Honestly, is probably a bit more sinister than.
It's again, it's funny because it's poking at a very real thing.
Yeah.
Where people are fine if there's like
letting things happen.
It's more like if there's a social imperative to do something.
Yeah.
Like your community is like, you need to believe this or you need to say this. Even if you know it's not true, the social pressure will make you on the surface act like it is, and then behind the scenes you might be okay with it.
Yeah.
It's like when kids in grade school, like there's, say, a friend of theirs is getting bullied, but they won't say anything publicly because they're worried that they're going to become the target next. And then, but behind the scenes, they'll go and talk to him and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm with you," and so on and so on.
Fuck those people. I'm sorry. Fuck those people.
No, I'm 100% with you, but not everyone like.
I used to know someone. Sorry, this is going to be a small.
No, go for
story.
it. I mean, we're actually making really good time, so we got time for a tangent.
Back when I was in school, I was around. I think 13 at the time, 13, 14. Fucking nightmarish time for kids.
Yeah.
Where it comes to social pressure. And one of my friends was getting, like, bullied because of they were fucking around with his name. And I was pissed off with those people, and I was trying to keep him away from them.
Yeah.
Then those people started doing it to me. And so I went and I was just like, I'm not having this. I'm going to speak to someone about it, and I did. And then my friend came to me one day and he was like, you shouldn't have said that you shouldn't have told on them. That's not good. I'm like, dude, you've been bullied for years. I just got it cleaned up in a week for myself. Fuck that. Anyway, this was a very long tangent that wasn't meant to be.
It was, but I feel like...
And that was the TMCJ podcast.
I feel like this movie is like tailor-made for having conversations about things that aren't normally PC to say.
Acceptable, yeah. Honestly, we could just take one scene for each podcast and just talk about the ethics and morality behind it.
True. Speaking of which, next he goes to a whorehouse.
Yeah? Does he?
I don't know if he's actually in a whorehouse, but it's heavily implied that he's in a whorehouse. Because he's talking... Actually, no, she's like a femme fatale.
Are you talking about the singer?
Mm-hmm.
They're not a whorehouse.
It's not... Well, it's not clear where he goes. Like, he goes and he goes into a room, and she's there in negligee and, like, a bathrobe. And, she clearly is the dominant one in the conversation. Which I think maybe horror is the wrong word. I think she's more of like I was saying, femme fatale. I think that's a good way to put her.
A loose Jezebel. Is that better? Is that worse?
I think that might be worse.
I apologise to anyone out there called Jezebel. I'm not suggesting you're loose.
There is a online tabloid called Jezebel.
Yeah, I know.
But
that's all. That was actually a thing. Calling someone a Jezebel was.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the phrase.
I wasn't specifically aiming for the that place.
Anyways,
a great source of comedy if anyone's interested. No, sorry, go.
He goes to talk to this woman, and essentially he's hiring her to be an assassin to take out the sheriff. This is the railroad guy.
Yeah.
And there's this overly sexualized, like, she's, again, manipulating him, got him on his knees, and is doing the whole dominatrix thing to negotiate her terms for what she's going to be paid for doing this job. And she eventually does agree. And the method of assassination is at a big, like, show thing where you've got a bunch of people on stage and she's doing a bit of a burlesque show, and the audience is all in, and are they speaking? I can't remember if they're singing in German or if she just has a German accent.
I think she just has a German accent. Or if they did, they had subtitles. But I'm pretty sure they just have a German accent.
Yeah. Well, anyway, at the climax of the show, she invites him back to her room.
Oh, well, hang on. During the show, the whole show is about her being exhausted and tired and just fed up with people.
Mm.
And people are, like, getting horny in the crowds and stuff.
I wasn't going to go into details about the show, but yeah. It is actually quite an entertaining scene in and of itself. Like, there's the musical number is actually kind of funny, and, you know...
It is.
I think they actually have, like, the Germans with the fucking pointy helmets coming out dancing on stage, too.
I can't remember what they're called now.
Neither can
There's a name for those kind of hats.
I know, and I know German, and I can't fucking remember.
Yeah. But anyway, like the Bismarck helmet.
Cow something. Anyway. Yeah, and so she brings him back to her room, and the two of them have... She tries desperately to seduce him, and fails miserably. Because he's just, like, not interested throughout the entire scene. And I think he just eventually leaves and goes back to the sheriff's station. Oh, sorry, I just whacked my
I'm pretty sure he sleeps with her.
Does he actually? For some reason, I was thinking that he didn't sleep with her at all, and it was just... Like,
because then she switches mind.
Oh wait, does she poison herself? Maybe.
No, she gets up the next morning and she is actually in love with him because of.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, I
don't want to say it.
it backfired. It backfired. I'm not going to say the phrase, even though I think YouTube would be fine with it. But there is a very particular phrase for a woman falling in love with a man of darker complexion.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. You're right. That does happen. Anyway, so he goes back to the sheriff's office and he hangs out with the gunslinger drunker kid. And
Mongo wakes up.
And I think Mongo actually he joins up with them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like
they whip him.
Yeah. They end up liking him. And I think, doesn't he, like, just break out of his chains or something like that?
Yeah, he's chained with, like, 30 chains to a wall, and he just kind of stretches and shrugs, and they all just disappear off of him.
Yeah, after he agrees to join them. Like, he's like, as if he was not really restrained to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think the next thing they do, they ride out, because there's some event happening at the end of the railway. And...
So, tell you what that event is.
Sorry?
Do you remember what that event is?
No, I don't.
So, the villains are like, okay, the German dancer girl doesn't work. We need to just hire the most villainous scum.
Oh, no, you're right. I do remember this.
Okay. So good. This line, we've got to say this line in full. You know which one I mean.
No, I don't. I don't actually.
Okay.
Say it.
Okay. Well, when it gets to the back of the line and they're trying to work out how to get in... Do you remember this part? Okay, so I'll just describe the scene.
I remember what happens, but I don't remember what's said.
So, they're out in the desert, and there's like every kind of evil-esque class of people lined up neatly in front of this table.
They've got like Klansmen, they've got terrorists, they've got
Mexican banditos and Nazis.
Yep.
And someone's chewing gum or something.
Probably spitting tobacco.
Yeah, and then they didn't have enough for the whole class, so they got shot or something in the queue. So yes, and the sheriff and the deputy ride out, and they see this line of people, and they're like, well, how are we going to get closer to the action? Mm-hmm. And they see at the back of the queue are two people in...
full Ku Klux Klan gear.
Exactly. And the deputy's like, I've got an idea. You wait over here. And...
Oh, no,
Okay, now you go.
No, what is it? He says something like,
So hang on. So the deputy's like,
It's the...
Boys, over here, I've caught a racial slur. And they turn around and they start running out. No. The KKK turn around. and the black guy, the sheriff, is there, and he's like, "Where the white ladies at?"
There's. I wanted to make sure I remember, like, so what I was thinking of, I knew what you were talking about. So there's a very politically incorrect comic that one of my friends in college used to read, and it was about, like, they would take the slides from, like, corporate training procedures and replace all the text in them with very inappropriate things. And so they had, like, a meeting table, and there were 3 guys around it, and one of them was a black dude, and it was that line they put in his speech bubble. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh, God.
Anyway, but yeah, so they do that, and that, of course, draws the Klansmen over, and they knock him out, and then they take their robes, and they wait in line to sign up to be part of the evil people squad. And it does. You think they're going to infiltrate, but it doesn't actually happen that way, because the guy reaches out to sign, and his hand is still black. So it's very clearly like a black dude wearing the Klan robes. And then they get caught, and they have to run off back towards the town, like, and escape all the evil bandito people. And what happens next? There's. They decide that so all they get back to town, and they rally all the townsfolk to try and find a solution.
This is the part where it starts going downhill.
Yeah, so the movie up until this point has been fairly not politically correct, but funny as fuck. And the storyline has been internally consistent. At this point, though, it starts to get a bit ludicrous. So they decide that what they're going to do is build a fake version of the town, so, like, the banditos ride in there and take out the fake town instead of the real town. And they do it in one night. Like, they manage to put up this fake facsimile of a town. But then they all get into a fight in the middle of the town, or in the middle of the fake town.
Well, there was dynamite laid in the fake town.
They would do. Sorry?
There was dynamite laid in the middle of a fake town.
And it blows up. Yep. So here's where things get confusing, though. Like, the fight, because there is a fight that happens after this.
Yeah.
So you
I can't remember at this point.
There's a fight. Like, it gets confusing, because there's the dynamite blows up, the fake town happens, they get into a fight with the people anyway. And then it cuts to people doing, like, a musical number very clearly in, like, sort of a Hollywood studio.
Yeah.
And that goes on for a while, and, like, so what happened here? Did they transition to something else? And then suddenly all of the cowboys and the fighting burst through the side of the set, and it gets very fourth wall breaking as the brawl that's happening between the evil people and the main people breaks into the real world. They fight throughout, like, the entire Hollywood studio.
Yeah, and, like, the musical people in the next studio start fighting the cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, come on, girls, let's get them!
My favorite line was, "You can't hit me, I work for Mel Brooks!" Mel Brooks, by the way, I think actually is the guy who plays the governor.
Right.
I think he actually is. Anyway, so there's a scene where, like, a guy who's playing Hitler is sitting at a table in a lunchroom, and he's talking to, like, some other random dude, and then
I think he's just, like, doing that repeatedly,
yes,
isn't he?
At the end. So when the brawl breaks out in the room, he's in the very background doing the Heil salute in the fucking background.
Just, like, repeatedly, like he's trying to fucking dab them out.
It just gets increasingly ridiculous until the end of the movie, where the brawl, like, it resolves. And then the main characters, the sheriff...
Well, the main villain escapes.
The main villain escapes. But he escapes into a movie theater, which is showing the movie that we're watching. And the sheriff and his compadre go into the movie after him. Or no, sorry, I think they beat him up outside the movie theater. I don't know if they beat him up or shoot him. Somehow they defeat him outside the movie theater. And then they decide to go into the movie theater and watch the ending to their own movie.
Something like that, yeah.
Sorry.
Along those lines.
It's something... Again, it gets...
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying I literally have no fucking clue. It was too random.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I remember... It gets very meta.
Yeah.
It gets very, very meta. The one thing I do remember is they go into the theater and watch the end of their own movie, and then they watch themselves get into a Cadillac in the desert and drive away in ostensibly what is supposed to be the 1800s.
Yeah.
Cadillac meaning the car, not the horse.
Is there a horse?
It's named after a horse. I'm pretty sure a Cadillac is a type of horse.
Huh. The more you know.
I know a Mustang's a horse.
You looked so proud when you said that.
And that's basically where it ends.
I think Volkswagen was originally after one of the Greek gods.
Do you know what it actually means in German? Volkswagen means people's car. It literally... So Volk, der Volk, it means the people. And Wagen means a wagon or a cart.
I try to remember which gods it was even. It was because I've been reading the Stephen Fry book, and it was a car brand. I'm not big on cars.
Yeah. Neither am I. I just know that one because I know German. But yeah. So that's where the movie ends. I want to talk about a few things about this. One, I think we both kind of have similar opinions about the ending, but I want to get your thoughts out right now because you
I
started
hate fourth wall breaking. I didn't like it in Deadpool, even though of all the places to do it, I think that was the best place for it, and I still wasn't a massive fan of it. In Blazing Saddles, obviously Blazing Saddles came way before Deadpool.
It did, yeah.
I think a lot of comedy films of that age tend to ramp near the end to insanity. Like, what I remember is Blues Brothers. It pretty much made sense with some comedy errors throughout the plot. To the end, when you suddenly have the whole police force of America, the county sheriff, the National Guard, the military, and probably NASA coming after you.
I remember us talking about this. That we watched the extended cut version, and the car chase scene at the end, as ridiculous as it was even worse in the extended cut because you had all of that.
It went on too long.
It did.
When they got into the bank, it was great, and don't get me wrong. The people paratrooping down the side of the building. Anyway, that's the Blues Brothers, not this. But no, I'm not a big fan of that kind of ending.
I mean,
because the story was pretty solid up until that point.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's... How do I want to phrase this? Fourth wall breaking, I don't like, in general. Be it in video games, in movies, in books, whatever. I find it annoying. There's actually a book series that I was really looking forward to reading because the description sounded really good, and the book actually has fourth wall breaking in it. And I'm just, I don't like this. But in this movie, it's... Even if you take out the fourth wall breaking aspects of it, I feel like even in a comedy, you need to have a coherent narrative. You need to go here's our story, here's the world we're building it in. There needs to be some rules.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, to just go all the rules are out the window. We're gonna have you guys fighting around Universal Studios, and hey, by the way, here's Hitler and also a horse and a car. I get it. It's absurd, and some people might find that funny. I don't.
Well, the Hitler bit was kind of funny.
The Hitler bit was actually pretty funny.
But I mean, they already had Nazis in the good part of the program, so that wasn't that far removed from the theme.
It's fair, yeah. It's just them moving into, like, contemporary society from the 1800s.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. They went a little bit too far with that.
So, Kaiser.
Yeah.
How many racist grandmas out of 10 would you give this?
Honestly, I found this movie hilarious, but the ending really did bring it down. I'm going to go with 6.4.
Okay. I will say... I am in agreement. I think I said earlier, there was the farting part. I'm not going to take off a whole point for the farting part, but it was kind of...
That was annoying, yeah.
It did annoy me. So a little bit less from that, and then the end part is probably worth, like, at least a few points, because it's rather significant, so... 6.8 out of 10.
Being a little bit more generous than me.
If they had just cut it before the last bit, it would have been like a 9.
If they had cut it before the last bit, I wouldn't be as generous, but I think I would probably put it in the high 7s, maybe in the 8s, if they had taken off the... Like, if they hadn't done the fourth wall breaking in the end. But, yeah, really nice. Altogether, it's a very entertaining movie. It's a classic. Yeah. If you are not... if you're easily offended, don't watch it. You're basically going to be seething. It's going to cause you more stress. Just calm down. Stop being offended by things.
In fact, no, I think they absolutely should watch it, because then you'll be immunized for the number of times that particular things are said, sorry.
No, I mean, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Honest advice, that's probably the better way to do it. All my friends in high school were assholes. That's the way you immunize yourself to abuse.
Yeah. You get used to it. Yeah. Wait, no.
You grow thicker skin.
Yeah.
Anyway, great movie though, I think. Despite the fact that I did give it quite a low score. Great might be the wrong word. I think classic is a better. It's a product of its moment in time, and it is definitely worth a watch.
It's not something you'd sit around with the family, but if it's you and your partner, I think there are a few films that are better off for a late night with a curry or a pizza. Watching that, I think, is great. Lots of laughs, not too serious.
Watch it with another adult, have a drink, have a meal, have a laugh. I think that's a good way to put it.
I thought that's where you were going.
Blues,
not Netflix and chill.
Gestures.
It's not
that's not
Netflix
what I meant.
and chill.
All right. Well, this is going to be end of episode. I actually don't remember. I think this might be episode 5 of Movie Night. If I'm wrong, I will correct it in the title. But thank you all for listening, and hopefully you will tune in again soon.
Where the white ladies at?